Howdy neighbors. The process order, how we'll do this, we'll be looking at the cards as a whole, so main deck and G-Zone. Then we'll talk about the main win condition of the deck, what we're focusing on and why I chose these cards the way that I did. And the third option and the third thing that we'll be doing, we'll be talking about the text, the cards that you can take out, cards you can consider, and the future of the deck will be the closing. And then after that, you guys can give this deck a go. The deck code will be in the description of the video. If you have any feedback for this deck profile, just let me know how you feel, how it went. If you don't agree with some things, save it until the end of the video, and then you can tell me how much I'm a big stinky dum-dum not playing the cards that you're playing. Okay, without further ado, let's get on with it. So first things first, we are playing 9 grade 3s. Well, 13 in total, but nine of them here in the non-trigger zone. We have 4 Venus Luquier. We have 4 copies of Silver Thorn, Dragon Tamer Luquier, then 1 copy of Beast Tamer Dorian. So that's our 9 grade 3s. 10 grade 2s, they are 3 copies of Dilva Sylvia, 3 copies of Rising Dragon, and then 4 copies of Lillian, which I think is a staple, so please give this a go. It's a really good card to tutor almost any Silverthorn card out of your deck, which is really nice. We are running some choice cards here. We're running 1 copy of Anna, Silverthorn Tamer. We are Assistant Irina, 4 copies of. I also think this is a staple. Even on rear guard, it does have some uses that you can use for your utility. I really like it a whole lot. We can talk a little bit more about it in a second. Then we're running 2 copies of Silverthorn Breeding Dragon, combo extender, combo finisher. It does end up eating a CB, but 1 counterblast is 2 extra attacks if you do it properly. And then we have Clown Serene, pretty good card. It works just like a Zelma, but with extra steps. And then we have Zelma themselves, the purple trapezist of the archetype. As you've noticed, in the main deck, we're currently not really running any non-Silverthorn units because sadly enough, the whole archetype is relatively xenophobic, so it really needs a lot of Silverthorn names to kind of function. So we're running it pure, just shy of pure Silverthorns right now. And then for grade zeros, we're currently running the Ionella as our starter. Like a whole lot because she adds to the Silverthorn names in Soul, so it synergizes a whole lot with Breathing Dragon and Lillian. And then we are also running 1 copy of Lota, which gives you the counter charge. Kind of works the same way as Anna, but it gives you a counter charge and a grade 3 back into your hand, which is kind of nice. The grade 3 back in the hand is kind of the biggest thing for me, and the counter charge is also pretty big too. Then for our trigger lineup, pretty quick on the triggers here. We're running 8 crit, right? No, 7 crit, 4 draw, 1 OT. Yeah, so that's the crit slot that's taking up. And then we're running the Heal Guardians because in the early game you want to mitigate a whole lot of pressure from your opponent. 4 stride crits, a 4 draw PG, 1 going to soul critical trigger, which actually kind of synergizes pretty well with a play that we can talk about in a second, why I still run at least 1 copy of these triggers. And then I run 2 copies of Assistant Dixie. Dixie is a good card, being able to facilitate a requirement in the deck of being able to call 2 cards from Soul at the same time, which it does happen to help a whole lot if you did not see any Sylvias yet, which is really, really nice. Let's see, and now on to the G-Zone. 3 copies of Masquerade Master Harry, 1 copy of Mid-Air Megatrick Yvette, Fancy Megatrick Dark Lord Princess, 3 copies of that, 1 Progenitor Dragon, 1 copy of Megatrick Coalheart, then 1 copy of Megatrick Fairfield, Then we have the Just Demonic Dragon, Wandering Dragon, Dragon, of course, the staple. 2 copies of that. And then Chainsaw Megatrick Furnival. Bit of setup. You can hopefully dig to find some Zelmas in there, or you can maybe find a PG, and you can G-Guard again, and you can get the PG out to your soul to G-Guard with it. It's also one of the reasons why I kind of like Irina as well, because Irina does not say you need to choose a Silver Thorn unit. Like, I mean, given you're probably gonna choose a Silver Thorn unit, right? But you could choose maybe a Hades Hypnotist and put it into your soul. It's kind of nice. Gives you access to being able to PG if you're against something that has guard restrict against cards from hand, which is pretty good. Then we do have a Dismal. This protects against any of my utility pieces on a board that I might want to keep my opponents from attacking into, or if my opponent's going to attack into it, at least it's less damage to my face. You know, stuff like that is still kind of nice. 1 Dragon Masquerade Harry, and Dust, the Zerath Dragon. So with that being said, we'll talk a little bit about why I've picked some of these ratios that I did, and what my main win condition is. So my main win condition in this deck is that I want to dust my opponent. I want to second stride dust if I can. If I cannot second stride dust them, this deck does still win on its own with Zelma alone, and you still have stuff like Luki or Venus Luki to still push pressure on your opponent, and you also still have access to Breathing Dragon, so you're not really out of the game. You're not instantly done if you lose your G-Zone. Like, sure, whatever measly defensive options that you had or offensive options probably might go to the wayside after you lose your dust that turn, but you still have offensive capabilities, even if it is a little bit halved. You know, you still can kill your opponent out. But our main one condition is trying to dust our opponent, since on place you need to discard the same name as your Vanguard. It's also one of the reasons why we want to try to run an even amount of cards, even amount of grade 3s in our lineup, for Venus, and then for Lukier, regular Lukier. We do not play reverse Lukier in this build, because I don't really think with you going first that it matters if your opponent, like, your opponent probably isn't going to give you a damage anyway. So, and if they do end up giving you a damage, you kind of are going to be calling cards to the front row anyway. And if you get an extra Axel marker, you still get it off of Venus Lukia. So it just kind of like, a lot of it for me doesn't quite click, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it doesn't work through my own playstyle, even though I do recognize that reverse Lukia does lean itself more to, like, if you want to play a wider strategy, that's fine. But I really do believe that something like Dragon Tamer Lukia, you do happen to call a whole lot out of your soul. So I think something like that just services a whole lot better for what you're trying to do. Yeah, I don't really like it. I don't really like reversed. And I'm also not playing something like, I'm also not playing Marichka, which is the other new grade 2, is because it also needs to be called by your skills, you know what I mean? Your Vanguard skills, so it's just, no. And we'll also get into the text as well, why I'm not playing certain cards too. Let's combine that together. Let's go over to the text section. So let's go over to main deck, type in the words silver, and then we'll rattle off the list of cards of why I don't play certain cards. I already talked about reversed, already spoke about Marichka. We only run 1 Anna because you still need to get the counter charge, you need to be placed by the ability, and you also need the soul charge itself plus another rear guard. That feels like so much minusing from you. It is a lot of minusing, unless you have like an extra rear guard you really need to have in a soul that turn. No, it's too much extra steps you need to do. We're also not playing this grade 4 because it is a grade 4, and especially on your first grade 3 turn, it is very difficult to find a way to get this into your soul. On your first stride turn, you usually want to put a Zelma from your hand into your soul. This could help against Honoli, but if you need to circumvent your whole entire turn against a Honoli, you're probably in a bad disadvantage anyway. So I prefer just making sure my deck does the same thing consistently as much as I possibly can. That's how I built it out. One option you could go for is Linnea. Linnea seems pretty alright, being a 13k attacker, axle marker, 18k attacker. Pretty okay. I do have one reservation about it, is the random soul charge. But, you know, it's fine, I guess. That's fine. It's not the worst thing in the world. So let's go over to grade 2s. Some grade 2s, some people are running that I am not running. I don't hate it at all. Some people are running the upright dragon. Pretty good card. Sadly enough, my own playstyle doesn't really work well with it. But if you want to run this card, go ahead and go for it. Some people also might be considering to run this card. I would say wait until we get the new stride that synergizes really well with it. The new guard restrict stride is really good, so I would probably, if I were to make any changes to this list in the future, I could see myself cutting down till maybe 1 rising dragon and maybe like two Sylvia, 1 rising dragon or 2 rising dragon, 2 Sylvia. So we could play it maybe like 2 Sylvia, 2 rising dragon, and 2 copies of this Clemens. Because then you can have access to guard restrict, plus you can juggle out your Zalmas for you while you're attacking your opponent. It's kind of nice. I like it. I like this a lot. This lends itself to more multi-attacks. Alright, and then anything else that we're not really feeling or vibing or digging with, these don't really help us. This gets plus 4k, I guess. Yes, I mean, this works a little bit. This works in the same vein as the upright dragon, and you don't have to call a Silver Thorn out of your soul. It seems you just need to have a Lukia Vanguard, which is okay. That's all right, I guess. Its power scaling is a lot lower, and it's not pre-GB. So I would still probably run the upright lion over this, like by far. And then we're also not running this either, because it also forces you to use the Soul Blast of Silverthorn. Plus it needs to hit. Plus just so much extra steps for this as well. This could get your base Silverthorn Lugia out of your deck though, which could give you some nice little attack points here, because it could end up, if you end up Zelbing the Lugia out of the soul, you do get extra multi-attack push, which is not the worst. No, I like that. It's pretty alright. We're also not running the Shada. She's pretty alright. She does go into soul when placed out of your soul by Wandering Dragon or placed from hand. I think it's pretty okay. Plus, it gives you a name. If you want to have some defensive options, even if it's until end of battle, this is okay start. It's an okay option. Anything else? Anything else that we're missing at all entirely? Oh yeah, here we go. There's also the Stride Silverthorn Lugia. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work for me. Nor do the stride units, the stride grade 4s, the stride G units for Lugia, specifically Lugia, also doesn't really work for me. They don't really add much. They're also not on attack anything. Their auto abilities it's just no. So Dark Lord Princess, sadly enough, is still the best stride, or one of the best strides in Pale Moon right now at the moment. So I would still probably run that 9 times out of 10 and just go for the Magia engine and just play Magia into Dust, because you still have a good end game outside of Dust dust just kind of bleeds your opponent hand out, and then you just try to win from that point on. It is unfortunately one of the biggest side effects of playing this archetype, is the fact that your hand is low. So one of the biggest caveats of playing this, the hand is low. The pressure sometimes that you have in an early game is really low. If you don't, your card quality can sometimes be low. So even if we were playing stuff like the Upright Dragon and all that extra stuff, we still suffer from the same issues. So I chose the option of, I want to make sure that even if if my hand draws poorly, I'm still focused on a win condition. That as long as I draw any piece whatsoever, we can tutor to it, we can draw into it, we can drive into it. And that's kind of my focus. I just want to make sure that any pieces that I happen to open in my first opening 5 or my first 7, I want to make sure that my game plan is set up for the rest of the game. And that's why I like the version that I'm playing. I'm not saying it's the best for me. And if you guys don't like that, that's okay. If you guys have varying and differing opinions from me, that's okay too. Tell me what you think. Tell me in the description below why you don't agree with some of my thoughts, and I am keen to listen. But as I said before, how I play it is completely different to how you play it. And it forever will be. Because one thing that I love, the name of the game for me, is consistency. I want to keep on, if I have to play 8 rounds of this deck, I want to make sure that as long as I draw everything I need, I win. Or I can win. Or I at least can have a chance. You will 110% lose the cards like Honolly, removal, like Denial Griffin cards or Denial Griffin clones. You're going to lose a whole lot of stuff. Sadly enough, you can't really run any non-Silver Thorn cards, any resistors or Cornell, like a Gray Elemental grade 1. It's a lot of stuff you can't really run in this list, sadly, because half the deck won't work, because you need to have mostly Silver Thorns on the board, or Silver Thorns to call, or Silver Thorns to multi-attack with. Zelma only works with Silver Thorns, so it's just so much extra steps, sadly. But it's still a really fun deck when it goes off, even with the whole focusing on its own archetype thing. It's a pretty fun deck to play. So give it a shot. Let me know what you think, and hopefully I get to see you guys soon. Take care. Ciao.
Fill my heart with song, and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. In other words, I love